Let's further discuss this now with my next guest. Sean Carroll is the president of ANERA, a Washington-based NGO that provides humanitarian assistance in the Palestinian territories, Lebanon and Jordan, and he joins me live now from Washington. Sean, thank you so much for being with us on the program today. I first want to get your thoughts on these medical evacuations that we've been seeing happen at a very limited capacity. I just mentioned that there are about 4,000 children among the 20,000 people that need to be evacuated for urgent medical assistance. In the meantime, how are these people coping?
Well, they're not coping. I mean, it's hope dashed in the first few days of this. Look, we all welcome the opening of the Rafah border crossing. It's been a long time coming. That border has been closed for 2 out of the 3 days since this war started 26 months ago. And there's supposed to be 50 patients a day plus their families allowed out for medical evacuations, and then also 50 Palestinians who want to come back into Gaza each day, and that's just not happening as your numbers have just reported. We're seeing in the first 4 days of this opening the numbers that don't quite equal what should happen each day. So, and it's cold there, and they're waiting in the cold, and those who have been let out have had their possessions taken away. I've seen reporting on that. And it's a difficult journey, and it has to happen because people on this list, this isn't everyone who's injured and needs medical attention. These are the ones that need medical attention that can't be provided inside Gaza. So nearly 20,000 Palestinians in Gaza desperately need life-saving care outside of Gaza. And so we all hope that these numbers will go up significantly soon and consistently. The crossing was closed entirely yesterday. This is a pattern we see as well, that there are stops and starts with everything, and we need to have consistently open and at the maximum numbers possible.
There is a lot of need for humanitarian aid within the Gaza Strip as well. It is the most vulnerable that need this assistance. The children, I mean, one of the most heartbreaking images that we've seen over the course of more than 2 years now are children walking barefoot in unsanitary environments, exposed to disease, exposed to the cold. Rafah is known to be a crossing that is crucial for the entry of humanitarian aid. What needs to be done to ramp up that effort moving forward?
Yeah, and the aid's not crossing yet. So far, it's just for people coming in and out, and it needs to be for goods. It needs to be for goods to continue meeting the emergency humanitarian needs, and of course, even more so for recovery and reconstruction. It's a critical border. Egypt has to play a critical role. Neighboring countries. It is the border that makes the most sense in terms of getting goods in. So it's absolutely critical, and that's not even happening yet, and it needs to happen. So we're seeing hopeful steps towards recovery and reconstruction, but not enough yet, and not enough consistently. There have to be mechanisms for goods, and not just the food and water and shelter that needs to come in, but materials to help start rebuilding.
I mean, that's a very important point that you're making, because hundreds of thousands of people are currently living in makeshift tents that are simply inadequate to withstand the conditions that come with the winter season. We heard from UN agencies that at least 11 children have died from hypothermia in the past 10 days alone. In 10 days, 11 children have died from hypothermia. I mean, what needs to be done in terms of reconstruction? Because it's a mammoth of a task. A lot of hands need to be on the deck to make that a reality. What is the process looking like moving forward?
Yeah, I think it's important that we recognize we've seen some futuristic and very hopeful and aspirational visions of what Gaza could look like. And I think we're all pulling for that. And I think we have to recognize that before we get to that, there's a lot in between where we are now and what we need to get to. And so that includes more sturdy shelter before we can build beautiful high rises, which I hope and believe we can do. There needs to be more durable and more protective shelter that protects people from the elements as a basic humanitarian need. And that's not being let in now. Some tents have been let in since the ceasefire, but not enough. And more durable shelter is not being let in. There are plans, and we all stand ready. NERA has aid pallets that have been sitting for nearly a year waiting to get in. We're procuring some goods locally, and we're getting goods from UN agencies and other NGOs. But again, the story is always that there's not enough, and we stand ready to move things forward. Without the aid, without the provision of emergency relief, leading to the possibility to have a foundation for economic recovery and reconstruction, then all of this falls apart. And no one wants to see all of this fall apart. We want to see the peace plan move forward. Phase one is moved into phase two. And yet for Palestinians on the ground in Gaza, it doesn't feel like that yet, and it needs to.
Okay, Sean Carroll, thank you so much for being with us here on the NewsHour and sharing that insight with us. I appreciate it.